We have here a 2004 Volkswagen Jetta. It has the 1.9 liter TDI engine. It is a BEW letter coated engine, and the customer's concern is the AC doesn't work. And I already know what's wrong with it, but I am going to show you the diagnostic steps that I took. So let's turn the AC on. Of course, it's a manual. Oh, he's got some fancy knobs on here. Crank that up full blast, all the way on cold, AC on, and recirculate. This doesn't work at all, by the way. So you can see down there with the AC on, the AC clutch is not spinning at all. So we're going to need to do some electrical tests to see why. I already have the AC machine hooked to it, and you can see there's plenty of pressure to where it should turn on. And as a real quick check on any Mark IV Jetta, you want to check these fuses right here real quick to make sure they're not blown. We'll go ahead and look at these while I'm here. Check this fuse right here especially, because if it's melted down, then it will cause it not to work. But all these fuses are good. And of course, whenever you do an AC system, you want to make sure the fans are working. So that fan is spinning, that fan is not. That is not what's causing his AC not to work, but that fan does need to be replaced. Okay, we're working down here under the alternator at the AC Compressor Connector, and we're going to unplug it and make some checks there. It's really hard to get to on this one. Okay, so I got the thing disconnected, and I have this connector to test. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into it and jump power there and ground there to see if it works. Just as a test. By the way, I've already done all this, so I'm strictly doing this for the video. Okay, plugged in. Hooking power to the green one. And ground to the black one, and hooking ground there, and I'll touch that after I have this running. As I touch this to the positive, the clutch should come on. I'm going to have the camera on the clutch. Oh, here, just listen for now, listen. Nothing, no response. By the way, it's not sparking either, so that probably means no amperage is flowing. Okay, I'm still tapping. This should be turning on and off as I do that. Jumping power to that clutch is not turning on the clutch. Back off some. Zoom in. Okay, so the clutch should read 4 ohms of resistance. And I'm going to go ahead and bump that. I'm going to turn on the audible here. And when we have connection, it should beep. these wires are still hooked to the compressor down there, so I'm just going to check resistance of the clutch coil through the wires. And yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, it's not beeping, so it is not, it doesn't have any continuity through it. It's showing off limits, so that means more resistance than this meter can read. That usually means an open circuit. So double checking my wires, make sure they haven't come loose or anything, but the clutch obviously has an open in it. And so my diagnosis is the clutch is bad. This is very, very common when the fan stops working. Understand that the fan lowers pressure inside the high side of the unit, AC system, and so if the pressure is extra high, the clutch has to work twice as hard in order to stay on, and so it draws more amperage than it should, and it burns out the clutch. So we'll definitely need to put a fan on this, and we'll put a clutch on the compressor, and that should fix it. Of course, that involves evacuating the Freon, which of course we have the machine to do so, so we'll get started doing that. We have the compressor off this Jetta, and we're going to show you how to install the clutch coil on it. In order to get the AC compressor out of this one, you have to pull the alternator, and you pull it from the top. That's on a Vw TDI. On other Volkswagen Jettas with a 1.8T or 2 liter or a 1.9 ALH, it's going to be a little bit different, but changing the clutch is the same on all of them. So they all have the same standard compressor, and it says SD7V19 on them. If you want to buy the clutch on this, just visit my website at kansascitytdi.com, and there'll be a listing for it there where you can buy the clutch. Take this nut off. There's a 14 on this one. It could be different on others. And then you can take a scribe and pull this off. Some of these are rusted worse than others. If you're in a northern zone, you might not be able to do this repair at all because it'll be rusted in place. At that point, you just have to change the compressor. But here, we can generally get them off. And then we take a small set of snap ring pliers. And off comes the snap ring. And then this will usually slide right off, but sometimes you have to give it a little tappage. And so I'm going to put the nut on there so I don't damage the shaft, and then just give it a little tapping like that. It's hard to do with one hand here. And there is the bearing and pulley. Bearing feels real good. And then down inside there, there's another snap ring. It takes a slightly larger set of snap ring pliers. And there's that snap ring. And then at this point, the wire here, usually I just bend the bracket out of the way. And the wire comes out of there. And then this electrical connector will tap out of here. At this point, I don't care whether I break that or not because it's the bad one. And then that's off with the old AC clutch coil. And here's the new AC clutch coil. Like I said, visit my website, I'll sell you one. And stand this up. There is a little tit right here. And there's two places for the tit on the compressor. So you put it on the one where the wire lines up where it's supposed to go. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket surgery. And then back in with the clip. And always make sure these clips are seated by giving a little tap with the screwdriver. And then that's all solid. And put that in there. Put the loom covering down over it. Tap the bracket back into place. And you put this back in here. If you're rusty across here, take a wire wheel to it. But if not, just brake clean it, make sure it's nice and clean. And then appropriately sized socket to bead the bearing onto the thing. Go in there really easy. And the snap ring again with a set of snap ring pliers. put the clutch on there. The clutch does have one set of splines on it that is fatter than the others. Usually pretty easy to find on there though. And back in the day, it was pretty common for this nut to come off here. So I like to put a little bit of Loctite on it to make sure it doesn't. On those cars back in the day, the customer would be driving down the road and the nut would come loose and come off, and the customer would hear the clutch bouncing down the road, ta-ting, 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 as they were driving down the road. I failed to mention that there was a washer or a shim underneath there to shim the correct clearance on there. I always just reassemble it the way it came apart, and if it needs any shimming from there, then we have to do that later. We're going to get this back in the car and I'll show you it working. We have finished the fill process and the machine's all done, and we're ready to start this thing up and see if the AC system works. And the number one priority is obviously we want the clutch to come on when we start the car and turn the AC on. Go ahead and start it. And there it is. Clutch working. And you see the low side's being drawn down, high side's going up. And I specifically did not fix the fan because I wanted to demonstrate that that wasn't the problem. So now the clutch is on because the clutch coil is good, and we'll be changing that fan here in just a few. If we let this run long enough, the high pressure side might get a little bit too high. It's a little bit noisy because we left the elbow pipe out because it was in the way of this fitting here. But let's go see what the temperature runs. .62 and dropping. And we'll get that fan changed and we'll show it one more time. I realized I forgot to ohm check this and show on video, but I did want to demonstrate that these are 4 ohms. So I plug our test connector into the AC clutch coil, turn our meter to resistance, and I always like the beeper to be on. And then hook to our wires. And it has 3.9 ohms of resistance, which of course round that to 4, and that's a good clutch coil. Just wanted to show both fans working. If I had a little bit more time, I'd show you the difference in pressure with the fan working opposed to yesterday when the fan wasn't working, but honestly I don't remember what the pressure was yesterday, and I just ain't got the time. Customers for some reason want their vehicles back. I have been on a road test on this, and you can see there it's cooling down to approximately 44 degrees. It's going up because I just pulled it out of the vent, but that's cooling real well. If this video helped you diagnose and/or fix your car, consider making a donation on my website at www.kansascitytdi.com. You can donate any amount, and if you want to buy that clutch from me, visit my website and find the new parts for sale section. Don't forget to click the like button, and if you want to watch some more of our videos, there's one right there. You can grab this one right here, and don't forget to subscribe.